Welcome back to Watts, The Obsession, covering the University of Idaho quadruple murder case to help ensure the complete justice is found for the 4 victims and for their families. So listen, I understand that Moscow, Idaho is a small community of 26,000 people, right? Pretty small. I would imagine that the law enforcement there isn't necessarily equipped to deal with any homicide investigation, let alone a quadruple homicide of college students who were, by all accounts, liked by everyone, good people helping people who did not make enemies. This is a very bizarre case. And, to this point, on the morning of November 28th, 2022, it seems like law enforcement does not have any leads. They have declared on a couple occasions that they do not have any suspects. And there are several other things that have gone, in my opinion, wrong or are very peculiar in the not productive way regarding this case. I'm going to be going over all of those details in successive videos and live streams, but today I want to focus on how law enforcement is interacting with the families. I'm going to just talk about the Conclaves family because they have been in the media spotlight more than any other family, and we have some sound clips and some statements from them that are, I think they're pretty upsetting. They make me very concerned that law enforcement is not doing everything in their power to bring justice to these 4 victims and their families, and that is a problem. Just yesterday, on Sunday, November 27th, there was an interview with Steve Conclaves, Kaylee Conclaves' father, on Fox News. Now, he says during the course of this interview that he really respects law enforcement and he doesn't like to say anything bad about them. But at the same, and I get that, I feel the same way. At the same time, he's discussing with the interviewer the fact that he hasn't heard from law enforcement to receive an update on the investigation of his slain 21-year-old daughter since Wednesday evening at 5 o'clock. And again, this interview was on Sunday. So this murder just happened 2 weeks ago. So we were in the kind of 1 week to 2 week period during that time when he didn't get a call from investigators to let him know what was going on in the investigation into their daughter's murder. Now, I know this is not normal because I have been following and covering true crime for a long time. And I also happen to know, very sadly, 2 families who had a child that was, one ended up being murdered and the other one, it was an accidental death. In both cases, it was about 2 months until the investigators came to some kind of a resolution. In the one case, there were charges. In the other case, they just had answers for the family. Now, in both of these situations, I know that investigators called those parents every single day until they had the big news, right? So here, let's listen to Steve Conclaves and see what he has to say. Again, this interview was, just yesterday, November 27th.
We have walked this crime scene, followed the timeline of this case, and asked investigators to answer some of the many unanswered questions about this brutal crime. You'll hear from those experts later this hour. But to begin, joining me again tonight, Steve Conclaves, father of Kaylee Goncalves. Sir, thank you so much for joining me tonight. We continue to grieve with you and your family, and we're hoping to get answers for you. Sir, when was the last time you talked with law enforcement about the case?
Well, we just had a vacation. Law enforcement told me that they were going to drop off a little bit and not to expect the same type of communication that I had gotten before. They passed it on to another person. So basically, long story short, it was Wednesday, 5 p.m. was the last time that they reached out to me. So, yeah, that's rough.
Sir, what are they telling you
They're kind of just telling me that they can't tell me much, which is frustrating to me because I've been very trustworthy. I do know things. I haven't shared things. We're the same family that found the original timeline. We're the same family that broke into the phones. We tried everything in our ability to try to get into this system because a court order is not the fastest thing. So we broke in and we did what we did. We know that we have some family passwords that we all share. So we broke in and we helped them. So it's hard for me to give up as a father my protective ability to other men.
Sir, they have shared with us that it was a targeted attack. Can you give us any information about that? Have they told you who the target was or given you more insight than they have the public?
I don't want to talk bad about them because these are some hardworking individuals, and I'm doomed without them. We're all doomed without them. This defund police is just a terrible idea. The fact that we're finding out that there's more than just my daughter and these children that have suffered, it's terrible to think that we can defund these guys. It's an absolute atrocity. That's not something that is it's political. It's not political. This is just facts, guys. We can't allow these people to just run free. So beyond that, they haven't shared a lot. We have some private detectives that have reached out to us and given us information. We take that with a grain of salt and we try to be careful. Just today, I reached out to the officers and said, hey, this guy's treated me with respect on the show. I'd like to share some things with him that I found out on my own. And they asked me to not do that. So we're holding our tongue. We're waiting patiently, but we're definitely concerned.
So there you have it, the latest interview with Steve Conclaves, Kaylee's father. And, he tells you a story that the investigators haven't called him to update him on the slain murder of his 21-year-old baby girl in 5 days from Wednesday to Sunday. That is just absolutely, that blows my mind. I mean, this just adds to the seriousness of the question, what are the investigators doing? Now, I'm not trying to be nasty and critical, like I admittedly am with some other agencies and police departments and investigators, because I believe that there is a palpable sense of corruption running through some cases. I don't feel that here personally. I'm just speculating here, but what the heck are they doing, man? They're not getting back to the families for 5 days. They don't have a suspect. They haven't put out any really helpful information whatsoever, not even select bits of information yet, contemporaneously, the coroner's out flapping her gums before there's even an arrest made in this triple homicide. And I believe it's possible that she could have done some damage to the investigation, but that's a whole nother story, and that will be a whole other video. So now take a listen to this clip of Olivia Goncalves talking about Kaylee and the investigators and what she feels is the most frustrating thing about the investigation.
I'm very sorry to meet you this way. What do you want people to know about your sister?
Yeah, I think the most important thing to know about Kaylee is she was a go-getter and she was an absolute fighter. And I want people to take this personally because she was everyone's daughter. She's the neighbor, she's the friend. She was the girl who made your coffee in the morning. And everyone should be taking this personally.
So we're taking it personally. And it doesn't make any sense, certainly not to you. In terms of what you understood about your sister's life, was there any threat that she had ever had? Was there anybody who was coming after her on social media? Did she have a past, a problem with a boyfriend or a friend? Anything to inform why somebody would do something so violent to her her friend, her other roommate, and her boyfriend?
Absolutely. There's nothing. There's no boy problem. There's no threat. There's no high risk lifestyle that could have indicated this. It has taken all of us completely by shock, and we have absolutely no ideas. None.
Now, your frustration, other than just dealing with the tremendous loss for your family, is what in terms of the investigation?
I think this happened in a small town, and I absolutely understand that local authorities were probably overwhelmed, and I don't blame them at all. They did exactly what they should have done. But we're losing critical time, and I want more coverage. I want more done. I understand that we can't release information. It's an ongoing investigation. I don't ask for that. I don't want to impede on anything, but I want more people speaking out. And if that takes the police to push that agenda, that's fine. But unfortunately, I feel like it's been me and the families pushing that agenda, and that's been really difficult.
Okay, so those of you who are familiar with the Kylie Rodney case, I know what you're thinking right now. You're like, wow, what a difference, right? Whereas in the Kylie Rodney case, Kylie's own mother and her friends told anybody outside of their small community of 16,000 to go take a hike, to get out of their business. Don't want to hear from you. Kaylee's sister, Olivia, is asking for the help of anyone, which I think is so wise. This woman just has got it all going on, Kaylee's sister. She was so blessed to have this wonderful family in life. So going back to what Olivia said about Kaylee and how she was in life, she says there's no boy problem. There's no high-risk behavior. There was no drama of any sort that Olivia or her family knew about. And it seems that Kaylee was very, very close with her family. So this is a very important point because in my next video, I'm going to talk about the rumors that were going around about one of the housemates having a stalker.
A new wrinkle, former LAPD detective Mark Furman, yes, that Mark Furman from the O.J. Simpson trial, now lives in Idaho and is claiming that victim Kaylee Goncalves had a stalker.
I talked to one student, and I agree with this. It was twice removed from the person that said it, Kaylee, but Kaylee 2 months ago complained about a stalker.
And it just doesn't seem like that was what was going on. Or maybe it was, and one of the housemates didn't know they had a stalker. Or maybe someone else didn't. It wasn't Kaylee. But it seems like Kaylee's family knows her very well. And if they're sure that she didn't have a stalker, I have a feeling we can count on that. I have a feeling Kaylee was the kind of person who would have told her family these things, especially her sister, who she was so close with. As we listen to the various members of Kaylee's family speak, there's something that is clear to us and that is common throughout each of their attitudes about the investigation of the quadruple homicide of the college students in Idaho. They're frustrated. They're frustrated with the pace, with the rigor, with the extensiveness of the investigation. They're frustrated with what they have observed themselves and they've heard is shoddy work. They're probably frustrated with the coroner releasing so many details about the horrific murders, about the autopsies, before a suspect is even in mind. They're frustrated that they did all the work quickly to establish a tight timeline, a tight timeline that you can't poke a hole into, that caused law enforcement to change their timeline because they were wrong. So with Kaylee's family feeding law enforcement all of this information inadvertently because they are trying so hard to find out what happened to Kaylee and the other students, and they're willing to do the work themselves, because as Steve said,
we tried everything in our ability to try to get into this system because a court order is not the fastest thing.
Oh my gosh, that's absolutely right. And Kaylee's family did a fantastic job moving along the facts to put them together, to get word out to the public in order to get back any information they could find that might lead to an arrest of a suspect. Since law enforcement isn't doing an awesome job of getting out the information they should, please listen to Kaylee's sister, Olivia, and follow her wishes.
Absolutely understand that local authorities were probably overwhelmed, and I don't blame them at all. They did exactly what they should have done. But we're losing critical time, and I want more coverage. I want more done. I understand that we can't release information. It's an ongoing investigation. I don't ask for that. I don't want to impede on anything, but I want more people speaking out. And if that takes the police to push that agenda, that's fine. But unfortunately, I feel like it's been me and the families pushing that agenda, and that's been really difficult.